to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Today on the show, I'm going to do something a little interesting. I'm going to air somebody else's podcast. That's right. So today I'm airing an episode of Amber De La Garza's podcast, the Productivity Straight Talk podcast. If you remember, Amber was on my show back number 385. She is a productivity specialist, and Amber really, I'm a proponent of time blocking, but she took it to a whole new level, which was a very eye-opening experience for me. And I have been instituting it ever since I met Amber and she taught it to us on that show. So if you've missed it, please go back and listen to episode 385 because she really is a rock star. So why am I airing her show on my lineup today? Well, I was then on Amber's show. And so that's awesome. I'm on a lot of podcasts. It's a small community podcasters and one gets to know one and we tell each other about other guests that we think would be good for each other. So that in itself is not that unusual. But there was something that happened a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to share with you. Now, I did not ask this particular listener if I could name them. So I think I'm hopefully going to make a correct assumption that it's okay to share the story without calling out the listener. But I was very grateful for this email that I got. A listener emailed me and said, I think the subject line was, I was crying ugly tears. And I started to read the email, and this listener was describing to me how listening to me explain on Amber's podcast how systems are not natural for me, how it is not my nature to get up in the morning and make lists and execute things in an orderly fashion. It's truly not. And I've never pretended to you that it was, okay? But I do know the value of it. And I've been around the block a few times, and I have certainly learned to lock it down most of the time. However, it is a struggle every day. Just ask the people that work for me, okay? But the thing about it that was so powerful about this email that I received is that this particular listener had been feeling like because systems were not innate to that listener and that it was difficult to not only sit down and create a system, but that it was difficult to live within them, that it meant that it would probably be very difficult to be successful in business. And that had troubled this particular listener and caused this listener to struggle and really wonder if there was any point to being self-employed and having their own business. And this listener shared with me that learning that LuAnn is not by nature structured, is not by nature a systems girl, and not by nature somebody that would have come to this on their own, felt that and the line was, if somebody like you who is as successful as you are can be successful, then I feel like I can too. And so my thing is in this, there's a couple of messages here. We all talk about how it isn't always the way it looks, right? Whether we're talking about Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. It is not. Every one of us has our things that we struggle with. And this is legit for me. And you'll hear it in the episode. I don't take credit for having the aha moment. My husband pushed me into this. He insisted on it from me. And I have said to you on the show, if I'm the one who goes kicking and screaming into the systems, okay? Now, look, I'm around the block a few times. It's not my first rodeo. This is going into our 4th decade in business. What I've come to is I've learned the value of the system. And what I've learned is, as hard as it is for me personally, speaking for me right now, to do things within a system, 2 things happen. Number 1, when I do, I'm always rewarded. And number 2, when I don't, I'm always kicked in the butt. I mean, it's as simple as that, And so the thing about it is that I thought if this one listener heard that podcast and had such a strong reaction to it, maybe it would help somebody else. And also, I'll tell you, the last couple of weeks that I've been doing the solo shows, I've been getting a lot of legitimate feedback that you're enjoying it. And so I felt like this was a version of a solo show. Of course, the interview is guided and it is Amber's show and all the cred all day. But it is that opportunity to hear what I think about things and to share my experiences, okay, since I was the guest and the point of that particular episode, unlike it when I am interviewing somebody, right? So that is the reason for sharing this here, because I really want you to know that it is possible to be successful even though your innate nature is not the quote-unquote textbook version of a entrepreneur or of a business person, right? I am sort of the textbook version of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a visionary. An entrepreneur is a thinker out of the box. An entrepreneur is someone who inspires their team to take action, right? So that part of it. But there's multiple layers of being an entrepreneur that contribute to whether you will be successful or not. And I know very clearly that those traits that I just mentioned that do happen to be parts of the better parts of my skill sets, okay, would have no place to go, no place to flourish, no place to be if I did not embrace the systems that were imposed on me, quite frankly, by my husband, who is that personality and is that entrepreneur that understands that the whole thing thrives on repeatable structure, okay? So I've said it before, I'm insanely lucky that I have my husband with me in business and that we complement each other so well. And I need you to know, if you are not the person that it has systems, if you're like me, if you're the cowboy on the ranch, okay, then you need accountability. I don't care if it's a coach, if it's a mastermind jam that you work out with your friends. It's just imperative that you do not ignore this aspect of your business, because the rest of us need to see the designs that you create. The rest of us need your talent in the world. And unless you understand and figure out a way to make it a business, then we don't get the joy of what you do for all of us. Okay? All righty. So I'm going to play this show. Notice in her introduction, the announcer language is that she's, straight talk about strategies and all of that stuff. So you can see how come we hit it off. Okay. I hope you enjoy the episode. I'm so glad that you join me every single week. Please, please, please let me know what you think about it. I'd love to hear about it. Send me, the best way to do it is to comment right in the Instagram thread for the show. And if you're not following me on Instagram, it's LuAnn Nigara. Okay, would love to have you part of our tribe over there. Please join us. And of course, the other way is to be on my email list, and you can do that by texting 444-999 and text the word Design Biz, no caps, no spaces. Okay, Design Biz, no caps, no spaces, 444-999. Okay, and then definitely please join us over at the party on Instagram and Facebook. All right, okay, I'm going to let this show run the way it was, and I will see you on Tuesday. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here's your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 92. The structure residing in every well-designed business with LuAnn, Niagara. If you are an entrepreneur who wants actionable solutions to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm looking forward to this entrepreneurial case study episode with LuAnn. I was actually on her podcast, A Well-Designed Business, and I got to know her a bit, which you'll hear all about. And I thought she had a great story to share about her success, some challenges she had with productivity, and how she overcame those. LuAnn is the co-owner of Window Works, an award-winning window treatment and awning retailer in Livingston, New Jersey. She is the author of The Making a Well-Designed Business and the upcoming book, The Things I Learned from a Well-Designed Business. Her podcast, also named A Well-Designed Business, was named recently in Architectural Digest as a favorite podcast for interior designers and is in the #1 rated and reviewed podcast in the interior design industry. When listening in on my conversation with LuAnn, you will discover how structure fosters more freedom. Yes, trust me here, stay tuned. Ways to create structure in your business, the question to ask yourself before making any big decisions, what you must embrace when you're ready to scale, the surest way to find clarity, and so much more. So let's dive right in and meet our guest, LuAnn. This episode of Productivity Straight Talk is brought to you by my very own signature coaching and training program, Stop the Entrepreneur's Success Solution. If you are ready to stop struggling in your business and start succeeding, head on over to theproductivityspecialist.com/stop to find out more. Again, that's theproductivityspecialist.com/stop, STOP. Hello, LuAnn. Welcome to Productivity Straight Talk. How are you today?
I'm great, Amber. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, it is my pleasure. I had the pleasure of being a guest on your show and we just hit it off. And I think before we even hit record, I was like, how do I get you as a guest on my show?
Well, and you were so good on my show and my audience loved you. I got so much positive feedback, which I was not at all surprised because I was already in love with you from your show. So,
thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I wanted you to come on here and share a little bit about what I got to hear on my interview on your podcast, but go deeper. Before we do that, my listeners don't know anything about you. And while I give an official bio at the beginning, I love starting off with, in your own words, who are you? What is your business? And what kind of support structure do you have in your business? And if you do have any personally.
Okay. So it's funny because when you ask a question like that, my brain goes to all different places. It goes to, well, are we talking to mostly people who are newer entrepreneurs, in which case maybe I should relate to when we were in our beginning days, what that looked like, or just say what it is now, right? So
yeah. So let's just go with what it is now. And then maybe I'll ask some questions of how long have you been in business? How did it start? So what does business and life look like for you now?
At this point now, we're a medium-sized team. So we have Window Works, which is our primary business, and that is a custom window treatment and awning retailer located in Livingston, New Jersey. We have a big business that we service to the consumer and to the trade. And then, of course, in the last 3 years, I have this podcast, which is like a business within a business. And we have different support people. So the Window Works business has 2 administrators, 1, 2, 3 full-time salespeople plus myself and my husband. And then it has 1, 2, 3, 4 full-time installers plus our partner, Bill, who's an installer. And then we also have another social media marketing, jack of all trades sort of admin that supports all of us in a lot of different ways for our business. So it's a pretty good sized business at this point, and it takes quite a bit of us to get all the pieces moving and gunning and going on a daily basis.
Okay. So one of the things that I was privy to some information on was that there's 3 of you in partnership. So it's you, your husband, and another partner. Can you share some of the dynamics of what is your role and what is your husband's role and what is your other partner's role, and why does that seem to be such good synergy and working so well for you?
Okay, so we began our partnership officially in 85, but we've been working together. When I say 85, that's so funny. It's 1985. 1985, but we've been working together since 82. And the thing about it is if anybody listening has read the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, we are quite naturally and to a T, the 3 entrepreneur mindsets of the E-Myth. And Michael Gerber explains that so many times somebody will be technically adept. So he uses the description a lot of, say, I think there's one story in the book of a woman who it might have actually been an interior designer, which is the industry that I serve primarily. Okay. But an interior designer who works every day, making beautiful designs and doing floor plans, but their principal, they can feel like is out having lunch and taking meetings and going to the beautiful showrooms while they're toiling away, doing all of the hard work. And in their mind, they think, you know what, I'm just going to go out on my own. But what happens is by the time you go out on your own, when you go out on your own, you realize that the thing that you love to do, which was creating the beautiful rooms, you're not really at liberty to do that many hours a week anymore, because now you're out having lunch and going to showrooms, which translates into rainmaking and bringing clients into the pipeline. Yeah. And so he explains that you have the technician, the entrepreneur, and the manager. And the technician is that person that loves and is capable of that passion part of the business, which is usually the making of the product or the service. And in our case, that's our cousin Bill. He is the technician. He installs all of the draperies and the window coverings. And then you have the manager. And that's my husband. You have the person that absolutely knows what's happening with the money, understands what the quarterly taxes are, understands what the net profit margins are, the gross profit margins are, understands operating expenses, monitors all of it, keeps it in line, and constantly keeps the team and the entire ship supporting those ideals. And then you have the entrepreneur, who is the person that needs to, you always use the expression, work on the business and not in the business. The entrepreneur personality is the one that is constantly bringing something up and saying, maybe we should be doing this. Should we be thinking about, moving our team in this direction? Should we be looking to 2 years ahead from and doing from that? And honest to God, Amber, when I tell you Billy is the technician, my husband is the manager, and I am the entrepreneur. And a successful business needs all 3 of these roles. We happen to be so lucky that we quite naturally fill them. Each of us in our own superpower fills these roles. Most entrepreneurs have to struggle with being a solo entrepreneur and having a superpower in one of these areas, but how do they get the guidance and the mentorship and the information to do the other areas to expert level? So that's a big conundrum, and that's why so many businesses actually, quite frankly, fail.
I agree with you. I feel like that is when you hear these solopreneurs or even really small, when you're first starting out, you're wearing all the hats, and there's hats that you lean into. There's hats that you procrastinate and avoid because it's not your superpower. And yet a well-run business needs all of those areas.
Absolutely.
And so when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's just amazing. All right. So let's bring us to, so you've been in business for a very, very long time. So first, it was just the 3 of you, I guess. And then over time, you've been building this team.
Yes. And actually, we did start with more than the 3 of us. We've always had a showroom coordinator. So always someone to answer the telephone. And I shouldn't say that. When we go back to starting in my husband's garage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then it was a little different. But from the time we had I would say he started the business out of his garage. And within about a year, I joined the business. Under a year, I joined the business, and Billy joined the business the following year. And so by the time Bill joined the business, we were already in a showroom space and had a official full-time showroom coordinator answering the telephone and making appointments and stuff like that. And in those days, I was the salesperson, my husband was the manager, and Bill was the installer.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So one of the things that I'd like to explore today was the fact that you had told me how structured your husband was. When I was sharing my tips on productivity and time blocking and all of that, you're like, you know what? My husband lives this every single day.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you are, based on your own words, almost completely opposite of your husband, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I thought it was so fascinating to hear how you have learned the skill set to be more structured so that you can reap those benefits. So before we get into how you did that, share with our listeners a little bit about what was life before LuAnn was structured and what did a day look like and what did that create in your business and life?
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, before I had structure, it really was always, fortunately, the business was small at that point, right? So we're a $3 million business now. Then we might have been $100,000 in a year. Mm-hmm. So if you are out of structure and you are out of systems and you are running a business that's going to have a gross sales of $100,000, that's so much easier to not collapse under because of it, right? So if I'm completely out of system and I've completely screwed up everybody that touches me in the business because I'm the only cowboy out there, the repercussions aren't as great. But what you learn is, and if you're smart is, you learn that you cannot scale from 100,000 to 500 to 1 million or to 3 million without honoring the structure. You see, if I had not got on board, I would have been a big obstacle to our success, which would have been absolutely ironic since I was the big driver of sales. So to have me as one of the most important parts of that success, but then to have me be the obstacle to it would have been really absurd, frankly. These are the trials that when, I know you coach business owners, when I coach business owners, this is what you find out, that there is such powerful forces that are completely at odds with each other. And if you just don't say uncle and make a decision, like I had this line, Amber, do you want to be right or do you want to get what you want? So yeah, all day long, I want to be right. I want to do it my way. But right. I've learned what I want is I want to get what I want. I want to be successful. I want to have money in the bank. I want our team to be happy. I want our business to be profitable. So yeah, you know what? Run the systems.
Run the system.
Do it the right way. Don't do it cowboy style.
Right. And so would you say that this was part of your natural personality, is to kind of be more free flowing and stuff like that? Would you lean into that? Could you see that show up in multiple areas of your life prior to making this decision?
Oh my God. Oh my God. First of all, I came to work in this business when I was 21 years old. So at 21 years old, I was the definition of free. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, at that point, I was dating my husband, say a year or so, and he had a nickname for me that he gave me within maybe 5 or 6 months of really being serious. Okay. Mm-hmm. Not just casually dating. And he used to call me Lou B. So my first name is LuAnn. He called me Lou, and he called me the initial B. And the first time he said it, I didn't catch it. The second or third time I said, what's with Lou B? And he said, well, you're Lou Bird. You're just a free bird. Oh. And that was like at 21 years old. My goodness, Amber, like I would hitchhike from the Jersey Shore to New York City. I mean, you can't know how free bird I am. It's not possible for you to know.
Yes. And I love that you're sharing this, because I truly believe that there's so many people that say, I'm just not structured, or I'm just not this. And from the core of who I am, and because I've seen it happen time and time again, I believe that productivity is a choice. I believe that it's a choice to want to learn the skill set of time management and having more structure. And that I have seen it time and time again that structure actually creates more freedom. right?
Well, and that's what I loved about my conversation with you, Amber, is because I have to tell you what truly impressed me about you is that you understand that it can be taught, but more than that, you know how to teach it. You see, you just don't say, stop eating the cookies and you'll lose weight. You're like, if you want to lose weight, I like for you to stop eating the cookies. It's possible for you to do it. And here's steps to take to not eat cookies anymore. You see, that's you. And that's why I was like, I call them #smart lady on my show. You get a smart lady when you're a smart lady on my show.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your kind words. I did enjoy that. And, I have seen obviously productivity and time management shared and taught so many ways. And the more experience that I've gotten, it leans into me knowing without a doubt that this isn't, you're either born with it or not.
Right.
And when I stumbled upon your story, I was like, oh, okay,
there's living proof.
Yes, here's
crazy lady has learned a system.
Yeah. And she has a podcast, so she'll be a great interviewee, and they're probably tired of hearing me say it, right? And so I really wanted to hear that. Okay. So ultimately, I'm just going to kind of summarize what I heard is that when you first started out, you were not structured. It was okay because there was enough leeway when you were making lower revenue, say 100,000. But if you saw yourself plateauing or potentially saw yourself as the roadblock to plateauing, that wasn't an option. And so that not being an option, you looked at what did you need to improve to hit those other milestones, right?
Well, and let me clarify. It wasn't me that saw that I was going to be the obstacle, and it wasn't me that identified that it wasn't okay, and it wasn't me who set out what I needed to do to improve. It was my husband. You see, LuAnn would have just gone along. LuAnn would have been one of those entrepreneurs that put her head up at 3 or 4 or 5 years and went, why am I never getting ahead? Why am I always chasing my tail? Why is this? Why can I sell, water to a fish, but I can't make this thing grow? I'm telling you, I fully recognize the value of him. My observation is that I would have, in hindsight, I would have been the one to be the obstacle, right? Because it was never okay as far as he was concerned that I was not structured. Right? He understands the importance and value of systems for productivity and for scaling. It was me that was constantly like, whatever, it's fine. I did it that way. Okay, I'll get it done whenever. He's like, no, we do these things on Monday. I'm like, oh my God, you're nuts. I'll do it on Tuesday, because Tuesday might become Thursday. And if it does, I'd say, it was crazy.
Right.
So I literally, when I say I fought him tooth and nail, it wasn't a fight and it wasn't a daily thing. It was just, I like to use the analogy of exercise and food control because it's something that we can relate to. It's almost like if you were to join a gym and the instructor there the very first day has got your program for you and you want to do it, but you're not 100% bought into it. And so you might do it 2 or 3 times in 1 week and then you'll miss a week and then they'll put some pressure on you and you'll do it again the following week. And then you miss a couple of days and you just keep looking at the instructor going, what's the big deal?
Right.
And the instructor keeps saying, you're never going to put all this together to a successful result if you don't consistently do it. And it's when you don't know enough and you're like, well, I exercised really hard yesterday. That should be enough for the week.
Right. I wish that's how it worked, right?
Right. And then what happens is, Amber, there's a moment when all of a sudden you start to feel the benefit of the exercise and you go, oh, maybe there's something to this. And that's what happened to me. There was always moments in my day where because he had insisted I create a system for this task, or because he insisted that I execute a WindowWorks task a certain way, there were constant like, oh, that worked. I want to do that again because that was easier. Right? Right. And so then I started to understand and experience the value of it when it is not your nature. So for any listener, like you say, you want to tell them it's a skill that can be learned. For anybody that it's not your nature, you're never going to wake up and go, love this structure. This is awesome. You're not, but you're hopefully going to wake up one day smart enough to know, just do it the structured way, because that's the way to success.
Yes. I've said that before. I do recognize that I probably had some tendencies for being a more organized person. I was that kid that for fun would take everything out of the drawers in the closet, lay it on the bed, and put it back in a new place and home. So I don't have this really full story of like these huge triumphs and struggles, and I figured it out. So, and I'm honest about it.
You can have mine. You can tell mine.
Yeah, I'll tell yours. But I'm not productive by nature every day. Right. I still have mornings where I'm like, ugh, right? And so because I know that, I have things set up in my day, and I have plan Bs that say, when you don't feel like it, we're not 3 years old. We don't do what we feel like doing. We get up and we do the thing. And, or when I think that I should have opinions about what I should do today, I say, well, no, the opinion was done yesterday in a positive mindset when I created the schedule. Just follow the damn schedule, Amber.
Good for you.
And so I share that because while I do have tendencies of organization and productivity, I am so clear that my love of this and my love of sharing it with people is because of the results that you're talking about seeing in your business, going from 100,000 to 3 million. Who couldn't be in love with those results if you have a passion for growth and for money in the bank account or whatever that looks like, right?
Right. And the thing is, it goes to every level. So even as funny as it helps you on every level, in the sense that it helps you be more productive, but it also helps you when there are disputes or where there are mistakes. Because if I do something a certain way, 2, 3, 4 times, and every single time it results in a negative outcome, now I go, you need a new way to do this. Like, you need a new way. Like, my brain now gets it. It's like, whoa, okay. And then what it also helps is, because again, like I said to you from the beginning, if you want to scale, you must embrace systems, because it can't be, I say to people all the time, if you don't have a finite, documented, repeatable, duplicatable process for what you do for every task in your business, you do not have a business. You have a you. If you get up in the morning and the only way for this to get done, for somebody else to do it for you that day, is you have to give them step-by-step instruction on what to do, and they have to keep coming to you, you don't have a business. You have an Amber, you have a LuAnn, because you're the only person who knows how it's done. That's right. And so what happens is when you fall into and you embrace the system and you do it and you teach it and you live it and you experience it with your team members. For example, I will say almost verbatim the same things to every client about certain topics. So one of the big topics in our industry is room darkening window treatments. Like, you don't want any light in the room. Mm-hmm. But you see, I have this whole thing that I go into that I say the same way every time. It's a system for talking about the levels of room darkening. Do we want it Las Vegas dark? Do we want it vampire dark? Do we want it just this dark? And I go into the exact story. So what happens is the value of, want to call that a system, my system for defining communication between myself and my client to the level that they want their room dark. Because it's done the exact same way with the exact story and the exact examples every time. When my installer is on an install, if somebody says to him, say we decided not Las Vegas dark, say we decided on the room is dim for sleeping as opposed to Las Vegas dark is, what's Las Vegas dark? When you're in a casino, you can't tell if it's 2:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the afternoon. You have no idea.
Nope, they don't want you to know.
We have no idea. So if your bedroom is so dark, it's Las Vegas dark in Window Works language, then we don't know if it's 2:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the afternoon. There's not one strip of light. Now, to not get one strip of light to come into somebody's bedroom window is minimum a 3-layer window treatment, if not a 4-layer window treatment. So if we're not installing a 3 or 4-layer window treatment, and we put it up, and the client says to my partner, oh, she really told me all of the light was going to be out of here. He knows right away that there's no way that I told her there was no light going to be in here with less than 3 layers. So he says to her, did you guys have a discussion about Las Vegas dark? And she says, well, yes, we did. And so now he knows. I know LuAnn. So that's like a little mini system that illuminates the fact that I don't talk about one time about this kind of dark or that kind of dark. By doing it the same way every time, it benefits me. I have clarity. It benefits my installer. He has clarity. And the story is so memorable in context of window treatments that when I call that customer and I say, I understand you're upset about your window treatments in the darkness. I think you remember we talked about Las Vegas dark, and that's 3 layers at minimum. You opted to go with 2 layers. So think about all the ways that helps our business be productive. I avoid problems with my client. I avoid back and forth with the installer. It's the craziest little thing, but it's our Las Vegas dark, room darkening system.
Man, okay. I love that. So much came up for me. First of all, stories are amazing, right? They're so memorable. It gets everybody on the same page. But one of the things I was thinking of was, when I hear a client or a listener or someone say, okay, yeah, I'm not the best in productivity or time management. I don't really need to work on that. I'm hiring an assistant. Oh my gosh. Like, talk about a gut check. Like, you're at the top of the roller coaster. And again, I have the same story that I always say. I'm like, hiring an assistant when your house isn't in order is like fueling a fire. Okay. Because it's not someone else's job to make you know what your priorities are or have clarity and have you show up on time. Those are habits and behaviors and skill sets. Now, can an assistant help support you in that? Can they help create an environment for that? Absolutely. And if you have your house in order, can they amplify your success? Yes. But so many people want to add team members to put Band-Aids on this. And I just don't think that's the case. I think that in your case, where you have 2 other partners and all these employees, if LuAnn was still a cowboy, could you imagine the havoc that would be reaped everywhere, right? And so
it's brutal. It's brutal. Well, and that reminds me, your analogy reminds me of even more visual is hiring team members when you're not organized and understanding your own systems yet is like hiring a housekeeper, but you've got crap all over the place. She's going to come in and move around and dust around the stuff, and she's going to make it a little cleaner here and there, but she's not going to get that home well organized, cleaned up, and looking like realtor ready. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like you're asking too much of that person. You have to to your point, have your house in order. I'm sure you've interviewed a lot of people too. I have interviewed a lot of people that deal in productivity and say that you can have a first assistant or any assistant or any employee member be part of creating that employee manual, be part of creating that process, but it still has to come from you identifying what your process is, right, Amber?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's a co-creation instead of just a delegation of the task. For me, one of the ways that I do it with my team is we'll get on, like we are now, a Zoom, and we record, and I brain dump. They have the recording, and the detail of typing it up and doing a checklist, like that doesn't need to be me. But I can't just say, okay, so how do we pitch Amber for additional speaking gigs? Go.
Right.
Well, first of all, I 100% wasted their time for the first draft because they have no clue. It's still going to come back to me and then back to them. So it's a co-creation, and we don't need to have everything set up prior to the hire, but to know that it's going to take a time investment, right? A huge time investment to get those up to speed for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So LuAnn, I have a couple more I love to kind of pull back the curtains. So what is a system, a workflow that you think has had the biggest impact on your business outside of your great story of how, you share Las Vegas light or this kind of thing? But let's do something like administrative, right? So if you're a salesperson, you love people, you love talking, you're the one out to lunches, but LuAnn has to go back and do some sort of administrative to tell the world what she just sold.
Unfortunately, she does.
Right? So is there a system or a process or workflow that we're like, ooh, we might need one of those in our business?
Well, one of the things that we have done at WindowWorks for many, many, many years is day blocking. Okay. So, and what's funny is I cannot describe this without taking it to the level that you took it on my podcast. Listen to me. I talked about you on about 5 Instagram lives since you were on my show. And I have, Amber, I'm going to tell you right now, I have gone through my calendar all the way. It took me 7 hours over the Christmas, New Year's break.
Yes.
4 hours one day, 3 hours the next day. I went from January 1st to May 23rd and put in physically in every single day all my non-negotiables, all my hair appointments, dental appointments. I was like, Amber got me fired up. I am taking my day blocking one step further.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love that you did that. And I'm just so intrigued. Why'd you stop at May 23rd? Is that
only because it was 7 hours. I was like, all right, I've got to get some other work done.
I thought you were going to tell me. And then I go on a month-long vacation on May 23rd.
No, I just figured, you know what, I can come back to this like in February and finish, and do the rest of the year. But I
actually recommend that, LuAnn. So before you go further real quick, because you're going to course correct between now and then, and you're going to feel what is right. So if you did the whole year, you'd be editing anyway. So I'm glad you stopped.
So what I did was, for instance, I went through and looked at, for example, every speaking engagement that I am guaranteed already through June 1st, right? Mm-hmm. And normally here I am 4 days before an event going, I need to get my hair done before that event. I have to get it blown out, or I have roots. I have to do this. And I'm like booked all the way. And I'm like, what am I going to have to cancel something? So I literally gave my assistant a Word doc with every single blow dry, every single cut, every single color for 6 months. And I said, here, you call the salon.
No,
you book all of these.
Like, yes, yes. Okay.
And then I have writing that I do. I'm a columnist, a business columnist in the Window Fashion Visions magazine. Mm-hmm. Comes out 6 times a year. I went to my calendar for my deadlines. Normally I'm like 3 days before going, oh my God, what am I going to write? You see, because here's the lesson, Amber. In things that relate to window works and things that touch other people's lives. So my podcast, which touches the editor, which touches the social media person, I will not miss those deadlines. But my personal things, nobody's affected by me not having my article for Window Fashion Vision magazine done until the midnight of the deadline other than me. No one's affected other than me if I didn't schedule in my hair appointments. So that was the last vestige of Cowboy Lou Bird. Because Lou Bird, last vestige was, all right, I have to be a slave to everybody else's systems. But when it comes to me, I can still do what I want when I want. But it's not productive. And your advice went like right through my eyeballs like a shot. And I was like, why are you the holdout? Because I would not miss that Window Fashion Vision magazine deadline. But I might be doing it until midnight.
Exactly.
And so now I've gone to every deadline. I've backed up. I know it takes me 3 1.5-hour sessions to write a 1,600-word post. So I've backed it up from 1 week before it's due, 3 days every other day. Boom. I did it for that. I'm like so psyched. So anyways, I had to give you credit on that because that has changed my life.
LuAnn, I love that you shared that though. I mean, that's very insightful that you knew that you show up with your deadlines and your appointments when it affects anyone else. But when it was just you, I can't even imagine how many people are listening, just shaking their head. Yes, that is me. So
right. It really was. And look, I'm still going to be that girl that's going to still blow something off in the calendar. Believe me, especially when only it affects me. That's the point, right? But your message hit me so clearly. And also too, I have to say, because like I shared with you on the podcast and you were on my show, that extra layer is and are the things that my husband has always done in his own life. And I just went, my goodness, LuAnn. Like, think about it, Amber. 36 years later, I'm having aha moments about productivity. I mean, so I thank you, really. And I'm telling you, I did like 5 Instagram lives with my people going, you guys, go listen to Amber's show. This is a whole layer of excellence here. You have to listen to this. I'm psyched, So, but before that, our day at Window Works, you asked for systems that we use that are in place administrative wise. As a team, we have theme days. So Monday is our team meeting. And then, it's our morning team meeting with installers. We have a whole system that we go through with that. And then that's followed by a sales meeting. Tuesday is status day at WindowWorks. So we might at any given time have anywhere from 100 to 150, 200 active open clients at every given day of the week. And so every Tuesday, the team starts with the admin, the office coordinator is tasked with finding out exactly where that job is. What is the status of that job every Tuesday? And our cycle is anywhere from 3 weeks on the short time is our engagement with a client, and could be up to 3 months with a client, depending on the type of project we're executing. Of course, there's always exceptions on both ends, longer and shorter, but 95% of them fall in a 3-week to a 10 or 12-week window. And so every single Tuesday during that window, we check on every aspect, every detail to know where that client is. Every Wednesday, we check on every problem. Any single order that has had a problem on it, every Friday, if you're the vendor that is fixing that problem for us, you get a phone call every Wednesday. And also every single Wednesday, anybody that owes us money gets a phone call on Wednesday. So if you told our installer last Thursday, oh, I'm going to call Adriana with my credit card later today. Yes. If later today, Adriana doesn't hear from you, Adriana's going to call you. But the fail safe, the double check, the system that doesn't let that get forgotten is every Wednesday. She calls everybody that owes us money. So it's like every one of our systems are cross checks for the things that we have found that went wrong. Thursdays is bill day. So Adriana reconciles every bill. Is it our bill? Is it the correct bill? Is it the right amount of yardage? Is it the right amount of parts? Is it blah, blah, blah? And then on every Friday, bills are paid. And so when most of these originate from Adriana, who is the showroom coordinator, but they touch all the team members, because if a client owes us money and it's been 2 weeks and now it's the third week, well, if she's called them 2 weeks in a row, is there a lot of sense in just calling them again and leaving a stupid message? No. Now it's like she ropes a salesperson in. Look, you sold this to this client. These are the things that she's told me. How do we strategize to get our money out of this lady? Yes. Or, we've received this part wrong 2 times. I think you and the installer need to have a little powwow to find out why you keep telling me to order this part and he keeps telling me it's not working. So it affects everybody. So those are the broad, and I would say every entrepreneur can set up those broad theme days. And then, of course, listen to you by further thinning up the hours.
Yes. Okay. That is amazing. Well, LuAnn, it has been my pleasure to have you here today and tell your story of being Luby and then what you are today with this structure and amazing business and leaning into this. And also after 36 years, being a student, right? Of the people that you're interviewing and being open to it. I do feel that we need to hear things multiple times in different ways and different places and times in our life. So I'm glad I could be that person to deliver that to you during our interview. But do know that while I was on your podcast, I was learning from you. And that's why I wanted to share it with my listeners.
Thank you. Thank you. So hopefully that helped you. And I want to give another big, huge thank you to the listener who reached out to me. And I really value that you were so vulnerable with me and let me know exactly what hearing that meant to you. And if you're in that same boat, if it meant something to you, I'd love to know it. Even if you had just a little aha moment and you realize that, there is hope for us crazy wackos out here that are trying to work against our own grain in running a business, right? And of course, if you need help with that, you do have Amber. She is a specialist at productivity. Her podcast, you have Productivity Straight Talk. And of course, she also does strategy sessions and has different courses available. And she's available for a discovery call. So if you just want to see if maybe Amber is right for you, you can go to theproductivityspecialist.com/discovery call. Okay, so I do hope that you will check her out and avail yourself of her skill set, because it certainly is opposite mine. Alrighty, guys. Thank you. Hopefully you're taking action. Hopefully you're inspired. I'd love to know what it is. Talk to me on Instagram. I'm there every day looking and loving and having the interaction. It's just so awesome. And Facebook as well. Okay, that's at LuAnn Niagara. Alrighty, guys. I hope you're making a decision today. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNiagara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.